I'm so tired. I don't even know how we're gonna do this, so we're just gonna do it. What's up, it's Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here with my top romance series of 2022. I have a separate video for my favorite fantasies because I read a lot of fantasies in 2022 and it was just going to be too much to put it in this video. So those are going to be separate. I already did one with my favorite standalones. One book that I did put in my standalone is technically part of a series, but I only read the first book last year, so I put it in that one instead of this one. But without further ado, here are my favorite romance series from the year. I will mention if it's like my favorite, which I do have a favorite, so you will know. I will pre-warn you. So we have the Miles High Club. So each book is going to cover a different brother. They own Miles Media, which is basically a news, entertainment, media outlet source company, and they are all the CEOs. So the first book, you have The Stopover, and that covers Jameson Miles. I loved this book. I would say his relationship with Emily, our heroine who gets a job working for Jameson, it was very toxic. It was very push and pull. She loved to push his buttons. He was very alpha douche, you know, but I was here for it. I ate this book up. Loved it. Then the second book is The Takeover. This is a single parent trope story. It is a reverse age gap between Claire and Tristan. And oh my God, this was one of my absolute favorite books of the year. Absolute favorite. I loved this. Tristan, was perfect, and if you are a single mom looking for a guy to come and help raise your family, here's the blueprint you need to look for, okay? And then our third book is The Casanova, and that is Elliot Miles. This is another workplace romance between him and Kate. This is an enemies to lovers one. They are office rivals. She absolutely hates him. This one does take place in London instead of New York, so that was a fun aspect. But overall, I love this series, except for book 4. If you want my thoughts on book 4, you can go listen to my biggest disappointments of the year. But that is the Miles High Club. Okay, the next one, I didn't read the entire series, but I did make it through exactly half of them because I wanted to save the other half for this year. So that is the Addicted / Calloway Sisters series. So I read the first 5, technically through the first 2 of the Calloway Sisters series if you're counting them separate, but yeah, I love it. I have talked about this series a lot in my videos, so I won't talk too much about it, but if you just love found family and easygoing people that are just really easy to fall in love with, like, these characters are so easy to root for and become, like, they're comfort characters. And I just love them. So I won't talk too much about the series because everybody knows about it. But you have a group of 3 sisters, the Calloway sisters. They are wealthy. The first 3 books cover Lily and her relationship with her best friend, Lauren Hale. And they are both addicts, and they're just trying to find their way to get over their addictions and be together. And then you have Kiss the Sky, which is Rose Calloway and her story with Connor Cobalt, and they're academic rivals to lovers. And then you have Hot House Flower, which is Daisy and Reich. And Daisy is the youngest sister, so this is an age gap, and both of them are very big adrenaline seekers, adventure junkies, and yeah, I love these stories. And I will say, though, you do need to read them in order. I do get people that DM me because there are people that don't want to read the Addicted series, which is understandable. It's not a lot of people's cup of tea with what the themes are, but I really think you need to read all of them just because there are long-going plots from books that, like, drag through other books, and you just see the hurt that these guys go through, and they are all there for each other, and just very wholesome, and it makes you feel like you're part of the family. Then we have Kings of Quarantine. This is the same authors that wrote Zodiac Academy, so you know you're going to be in for a wild ride. This series is not fantasy, though, so that's why it's here. Okay, so this is a reverse harem series, and it is boy romance. So you follow Tatum, and Tatum is new to a new boarding school because there is a current COVID type virus that's going on in the world. The authors did write this series when COVID was happening, like when it was hot and fresh and new. And so this story kind of follows that. So when you're at the boarding school, they get to this point where they have to shut the gates down. The kids can't leave the school at all. And Tatum kind of finds herself in the clutches of 3 guys because they believe that her father is the reason that this virus exists in the world. And one of our guys, he had lost his mother before the book had started to this virus. And so the 3 guys are like, okay, it's her fault. We're going to take her down. And things that they do, I was throwing my Kindle across the room, but I did binge this series in like one weekend over the summer. It was so good, but lots of frustrations, but it wanted me to keep reading. And I absolutely love this book. So it is a reverse harem with those 3 guys, and then there is a 4th who is a professor at this school. So lots of fun themes here, but look up trigger warnings. Absolutely loved the Hades Hellbent series by Tilly Cole. This is a dark romance series between members of a motorcycle club gang and girls who formerly escaped a really terrifying religious cult. And so our first book is between the leader of the motorcycle club gang, Styx, and he is a selective mute because he has a stutter, and he just doesn't think that having a stutter is going to make him be this big bad motorcycle club boss. So he does not talk to anybody. And in the very beginning of the story, he meets our heroine in the woods, and he's like totally mesmerized by her eyes. He keeps mentioning that he'll never forget her eyes. And then you flash forward some time, they are both adults, and she has escaped from the cult, and she finds herself in the motorcycle club gang. So they kind of take her in, and your story goes from there. That is the first book. And then the other books I read through the 3rd one. So the second one, you have Kai and Lila. Kai is the second in command to Styx, and Lila is one of the girls from the cult. And then you have Flame and Maddie's story, and oh, that was heartbreak in itself. Those 2 are such broken characters. That Flame had been sexually abused as a child, and so he couldn't have anybody touch him. Maddie was afraid to have people touch her because of getting out of the cult. And then I skipped book 2, but I loved book 2. I know that's not a lot of people's opinions, but I absolutely love book 2 because Kai was such a man whore. And then you had Lila. She was one of the girls that got out of the cult, but she wanted to go back because she was so brainwashed with thinking that everything around her was a sin. And so Lila just was trying to find ways to bring her religion into her new situation. And Kai had to accept that and help her with that. And I really loved it. So I loved all 3 stories. I think there's 8 or 9. I have not gone on yet because the 4th book is a little different in the sense that our main character for the male MC is a member of the cult. So it's why I've kind of put it off for now. But I'm ready to go back because I love this series. It's so good. It's unlike anything I've ever read. And honestly, it's kind of set the bar for me for motorcycle gang romance books because this was the first one I ever read. And the ones that I've read after that, like the Fallen Men series, I don't like it. And then I tried the Devney Perry one and I didn't like it. And this one, I absolutely love it. But like I said, it is extremely, extremely heavy with themes. So please check your trigger warnings. Then you have the Broken series by Chloe Walsh. I recently read this one because Binding 13 and Keeping 13 were 2 of my absolute favorite books of the year. And I wanted to go back and check out her backlog. So this was the first series that she ever wrote. It is a 4-part book series on the same couple. You have Kyle and Lee. And Lee is new to Denver. She ran away from her abusive father. She didn't get a chance to graduate high school, and she moves in with her former best friend who lives in a house with her boyfriend and his best friend Kyle. And so Lee moves there, and Kyle is instantly smitten with her. And there is a lot of drama to these books, I will say, because Kyle is a billionaire. He inherited his grandfather's hotel empire. And it's a lot of responsibility that he doesn't want due to circumstances of his upbringing and how he was raised. He is dealing with his father, who is evil, not good, because the empire was left to Kyle instead of his father. His father wants the empire, so you have that all going on. And then my favorite part, and I'm sure everybody's favorite part, so then you have our evil, no good villain female that thinks Kyle belongs to her because of all the dollar signs that come behind him. And like I said, this was so much drama, but I was living for it. So I binged all 4 of these in a couple of days over Christmas break because I just couldn't get enough. I will say Kyle. All right, let's hear it for Kyle. Kyle messed up a lot, okay? Kyle made a lot of choices that if he didn't make these choices, it probably would have saved him some time. There probably would have been less books that way, but he messes up a lot. But he wants to keep Lee, and he loves her. And yeah, it was just a wild good time. I have the Stay With Me trilogy. This is another series that is going to cover one couple all the way through. This was another one, definitely check up trigger warnings. Themes were pretty heavy, but our setup is you have our leading character and her parents are just pretty much fed up with her causing destruction at home and just not caring about anything and just constantly getting in trouble. So they send her to this university type school that is kind of also like a mental health hospital, where they guarantee people that they can, you know, get them better out into the world with some type of degree education. And so she ends up there, and there she meets Ollie, and that man was the definition of literal perfection, okay? Now, what was really interesting about this story was that she had this thing that she couldn't feel emotions. Like, she couldn't care about anything. Like, she was diagnosed with this. And then you had Ollie, who felt too much. Like, he had to take medications because his feelings and emotions were all over the place. So you have a female that can't feel anything, and then you have a male that feels everything. And it was just such an intense relationship. And what I loved about it was Ollie was always making references to making love. Like, it was never banging, fucking for him, which is really nice and refreshing when you read romance books, because every book, you know, you have guys that just want to get it on with their dirty talk. And I'm going to be honest, a lot of times dirty talk in these books is pretty cringy, even with some of my favorite books. But this one, you know, is beautiful and touching, and I loved it. And like I said, each one does end on a cliffhanger. It's the same couple, all 3 books, but I loved it. It was an incredible journey, but look up trigger warnings. And I have The Ritual in the Sinner, and I only own the first copy. I'm going to have to get the copy of The Sinner because the inside artwork pages are so pretty. Like, look at that. And I loved annotating it because this is a wild ride. So I have talked about this one in a lot of videos, so I won't talk too much about it, but it is a dark college romance. It's got some type of Devil's Night themes in here. And basically, we have a fictional university, Barrington, and the guys there are being trained to become lords when they graduate. Their fathers are all lords. They're basically the mafia without being the mafia, okay? They're bad business guys that can go around and kill people, right? Okay, so when they go to this college, between their freshman and their junior years, these guys have to stay celibate. They cannot have sex with any girls, okay? By their senior year, they are rewarded for a good job done by being given a chosen. And a chosen is a girl that is on a list of girls that they're allowed to pick, and she is his for the rest of that senior year. He can do with her whatever he wants. They have to do a ritual ceremony in front of all of the other lords to prove this. So that is your setup. And both of those books follow this, and I really would suggest going in blind with both of them because both of them have these crazy twists and turns that you don't see coming. The author is really, really good about leaving you in the dark, thinking you know stuff, and then you get to a point and you're like, oh wait, that was who this person was talking to. That's what was going on the whole time. Kind of reminded me a little bit of Ammo Jones in that sense. But I absolutely loved it. So you have the ritual for the first book, and then you have the sinner for the second book, and then there is a third one that is coming out later this year in July. And the author is not technically calling this a series. They're individual standalones, but they are all connected, okay? All these people talk to each other. So, but I absolutely loved this. This was one of the darker stuff that I have read. Okay, so I have saved the best for last, but probably no surprise here, and that is The Boys of Tommen, and that is Binding 13 and Keeping 13. So that is the first 2 books in the series. Book 3 is coming out on Valentine's Day. Insert countdown here. I'm so excited for Joey Lynch, you guys. But anyway, okay, so I have talked about this in 1 or 2 videos by now, but high school romance set in 2005 Ireland, and you have Johnny and Shannon comes from a very abusive household. Her father drinks and screams and beats her. Her mom has basically become a person that can't stick up for her because she's afraid she's gonna get beat too. Shannon lives in a house full of brothers, and her older brother Joey is really the only one who backs her and is there for her. She is severely bullied at school before the book starts. Like, Joey is constantly getting in trouble at school for fighting people for being mean to his sister. So what ends up happening is her parents end up transferring Shannon to the local private school. It is there that she meets Johnny Kavanaugh, and he is the up-and-coming star of rugby. Like, he is set to go pro once he graduates. He doesn't want a girlfriend because rugby is his entire life. And so day 1, he meets Shannon on the rugby field because she gets lost and she finds her way there, and he accidentally throws a rugby ball at her, knocking her out in the process. So he takes her to the office, and they kind of start talking, and he's really intrigued and mesmerized by her. And then he finds out that she's only 15 and he's 17. And this entire book, this first one, is Johnny's conflicts with how he feels about Shannon, but not wanting to do anything about it because of the age difference. And I thought that was so sweet and different in itself, because normally guys are douches and they really don't care. But Johnny was like, no, I can't. I can't do that. No way. And so there's no spice in this first book, okay? I think this whole book, they don't kiss until like the very end. But I don't care. This is a thick book, okay? I want to... Look how small the print is, okay? And this book... it's like 600 pages long. Same with this one. So this ends in quite a cliffhanger. This book immediately picks up right after. Johnny and Shannon's relationship develops more. And I have to say, the thing that won me over with this series that made me so, this is perfect, this is the best thing I have ever read, is the found family in these books. I love found family. I did a whole found family rec video because they're like some of my favorite books ever. If you're ever down and feeling bad about yourself, I always recommend to people to pick up a found family book, because it just doesn't make you feel alone, if you catch my drift. And this group of people, okay, so Johnny and Shannon alone, I loved them both. They were great. Then you have Johnny's best friend, Gibbsy. Gibbsy was fucking hilarious. I was laughing pretty much every time he was on the page. Then you have Shannon's best friend, Claire, who Gibbsy has been in love with for a long time. And his interactions with Claire, I was also laughing out loud. Then you have Shannon's brother, Joey. Oh God, Joey Lynch is like my favorite character in this entire series. His book is coming next with his girlfriend, and I'm so sorry because these are Irish names, and his girlfriend has a name that I don't know how to pronounce it, but I think it's Effie. So their book is next, but these guys all play rugby, and I think there's a total of 7 or 8 books planned, but I can't shut up about this series. I seriously can't. This is about 1,200 pages together, and I still am gonna probably reread this before Saving Six comes out. Here's the cover of the new one. I'm so excited. I'm sorry, I can't stop talking. I've rambled on so long just about these two books, but they are absolutely perfect. Okay, you know how Magnolia Parks was blowing up for everybody last year? This was my Magnolia Parks, okay, because it was the pain that everyone was talking about, but just with that found family that you just want to protect with every ounce that you have. So those are my favorite romance series of 2022. I love series. I think I vibe with them more than standalones just because you get attached to these characters and you want more, and then their friends come along and then you want their friend's story. And yeah, there's just series can't go wrong, or they can, but anyway, out of the ones that I talked about, I'm excited to continue them, and then the ones that are finished, I will definitely reread them in my future. But until next time, bye.